Good afternoon. I'm Chef Mark. Welcome back to Terrific Taste. For today, we're going to start off by julienning our onions first. The red, I'm going to do a couple of onions, the red and the yellow sweet Vidalia onion. We're going to move right along into doing our mincing our ginger. Again, we're just going to peel that. Don't have my peeler with me. I prefer to do it this way anyway. I always save those trimmings for other things such as soups. I'll leave the outside on because it's extra flavor, and I'll just discard it. I won't serve that because it's still edible, but it's not the best mouthfeel in the world. But I will use all of that. I clean it off first, but I will use the whole thing because it's just extra flavor. Now I'll go straight into my green onions. Just chop the bottoms off. I'm going to use, and I'll chop the tops off too. Those little parts that look unsightly and I don't really want to use. I'll save those both parts. I won't save the bottom parts, but I'll save the top parts for stock or soups or something like that, just to impart flavor. Of course, I'll wash them first, but you'll see me come back in, and then I'll just do a quick little rough slice or rough chop on the green onions. Now for my ground turkey. Again, I just want to get everything out of the way because I'm getting ready to work with raw poultry, which is always difficult. But all you're going to see me do with this turkey, quite literally, is add a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I'm going to add about a couple of tablespoons of soy. Here I am again with the paprika. Get a little flavor with that. And then I am going to add my soy sauce to this as well. And that's it. The rest of the stuff will be added in the pan, and this is just my filling for, this is going to serve a dual purpose on this day. Later, we're going to do lettuce wraps, but I'm going to use, this is about 12 ounces of ground turkey. I'm not going to use all that in the egg rolls. I'll use about 4 ounces, 4 to 6 ounces, really about 4 ounces, so I'm only going to do one. But I'm just going to liberally mix this with my hands, again, my gloved hand, and then straight over to the saute pan with this. So I'm taking my onions first after changing my gloves, the magic of editing. Using my onions first, I'm gonna put those down, get them in the pan, and get a little heat on them, a little bit of color, not much, a little bit of color. What you'll see me add next, and I've already added my oil to this pan, obviously. What you'll see me add next is a little bit of the ginger, a little bit of the green onions, and a little bit of the garlic, and then I'll let that saute a little more, and then we'll go into the rest of the recipe. So what you'll notice next is something that I tend to do a lot when I'm doing similar things, but separating them. So I'm making my vegetable mixture, because remember, we're doing vegetarian egg rolls, we're doing the turkey egg rolls, and we're doing the ground turkey egg rolls, and the chicken egg rolls 3 ways. So all I'm doing is I'm doing my onion mixture first. Once I finish with this onion mixture, what you'll see me do is I'll separate, and that's about to come up now, I'll separate those and set them aside. What I'm going to do is just I'll have some carrot sticks, or shredded carrot really is what it is, but shredded carrot sticks is what they're called. I'm going to separate those. I'm going to put the carrot sticks in there because I still want the carrot sticks crunchy, but I'm going to let them wilt under the heat, on the heat of the onion mixtures that I just set up, and I'll set those aside for my other wraps later. Now I'm going to throw in my ginger and my garlic to this and onions to the big mixture, to the what's left behind, because I don't want that onion and ginger taste to overwhelm the taste of just the vegetable egg rolls. So I'm going to give them a little different taste, just the vegetables, not that other taste of the ginger and the garlic, because it can be overwhelming. Now I'm going straight in with my turkey meat. Again, I'm doing this application for two things, so I'm using all of this in this, but I'm going to separate it for two different recipes because we're filming on this day. We're filming two different recipes, so that's just what it is. But you're going to take half of that if you're doing it, unless you want to do it the same way I'm doing it. And it's certainly appropriate to serve lettuce wraps and egg rolls at the same sitting. They're both appetizers, but they're both hearty appetizers, and they both have a different feel to them. So again, just sauteing this. I'm using my, with the turkey always tends to stick. Ground poultry always tends to stick unless you add a lot of oil. I don't want to add oil, so I'm just using my rubber spat to keep my pan clean and to keep my contents from sticking. And then I'll give it the old chef's toss that I always do. But I try to use my rubber spat as much as I can, and that keeps it from sticking, and it also helps to cook it a lot quicker. And again, with poultry, it has to be 165. You can't go any lower than that. So you've got to make sure this is thoroughly cooked. You're going to set this aside when you do your wraps, and so the turkey would always be completely cooked either way. But with your outside of the wraps, they fry pretty quickly. So you don't want to take the chance of saying, hey, my turkey's to 160. Let me just fry it the rest of the way and hope that it gets to 165. You want to make sure it is at 165 before you wrap it, so that it stays, so it's just still safe when you eat it once it starts frying. Now, after all of that, you're going to see me add my little splash of soy, equivalent of about 1 to 2 tablespoons of soy. And again, I'm doing this for two. So if you're doing it for yourself, you can use amino if you don't like soy. It has a similar taste. Amino is a soy derivative. It's not exactly soy, but it does have soy properties. So there's that. Now I'm going to add, you see the sweet chili sauce. I'm going to add that as it finishes, and then I'm going to go ahead and separate and get ready to move on to the next step for this. But I want to make sure that my turkey's completely cooked before I add the sweet chili sauce to it, because that's going to slow down the process. And again, it would be hard to test whether your meat's cooked properly suspended in this chili sauce. You're not going to see the pink, and that's what you want to see. So make sure all that's gone before you add the sweet chili sauce. And again, depending on how high how big the chunks are and how much meat you have in it, how high your pan is how long it's going to take. It's hard to give an exact estimate. I'd say 7 minutes is a good amount of time, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. You can always be assured of its doneness if you cover it and then let it sweat a little bit. That's always a good way of doing it. But again, it's cooking. Don't be in a hurry. Just take your time. Make sure you're feeding people and that you're staying safe as you do so. Now for me, once I am sure that my turkey is completely cooked, I'm going to add my chili sauce, my sweet chili sauce, dump this straight in and just let it coat it. And then I'm going to pull that off heat. It won't take long at all now because it's already done. I just kind of want that sweet chili sauce to be in there and ready to roll. So I'll separate this and then we'll move on to the next step, which will be the wrapping. Wrapping's a lot easier than it seems, but it can be tedious. You just got to take your time and do it the right way. So the wraps, what you're going to do is I use a station, right? So I'll have my wraps down on my cutting board, and then I'm just going to use my contents. I'll keep them all separated. My vegetables are all separated. So I'm going to put my vegetable base down first. Then I'm going to go with the other things. So if it's turkey, I'll do my turkey. You also just repeat the same process for I didn't bother showing you how we did the chicken. It's the same exact thing, except you're just adding the chicken to it. So it's a repetitive process. But I'm gonna go with my vegetable mixture first, then I'm gonna go with my meat, then I'm gonna go with my mint. What you're seeing me do here is I'm setting up my vegetable one, but I'll go with my mint right before the wrap, generally speaking. This I'm just adding a little bit of cilantro to. That's my chicken going down on top of that. I'm gonna then take my turkey for the other one and wrap that one. And ultimately you'll see me do, last but not least, once I finish, I will do the vegetarian one last after I've cleaned off the board, in case someone has an issue with meat or is a vegetarian. I don't want to use the same board. You see me changing my glove now that I'm about to switch to the turkey, and I'm just going to go straight with my hands, because if you take a spoon, it gets sloppy and you always take too much. So I do everything with my hands, just make sure they're covered and make sure they're clean. Take my gloves off, wash my hands, and then start the wrap. You'll see that shortly. On my wrap, now this is my vegetarian that I'm doing now. I did some toasted macadamia nuts. I didn't bother to put them in the recipe because it's just extra. I wanted some crunch in this because there's no crunch. There's a little crunch with the other things, not much, but I wanted some crunch in this vegetarian, so I added some toasted macadamia nuts. And what you're gonna do is, think about it this way. I'm using directions because it's easier to tell you. Everyone knows what north is, south is, east and west is for the most part. So you're gonna take all these other different components. This is the vegetarian one again, so I want to give it a crunch. I'm using my fresh vegetables. I'm taking my south flap to the north and kind of tucking it just a little bit. I'm taking my east and my west and going the east and my west and going the opposite direction with it and trying to tuck it. And then I'm going to take that last bit of the whole roll and roll it to the north. What I'm then going to do is take that little, see my finger? I'm taking a little bit of water, leave a little bit of water by you, brush your fingers in the water, and you're going to rub your fingers around the edges where there's the flap that's sticking over. This will help it stick. You also, when you get ready to fry this, you want to fry that flap side down so that it sticks first. Other than that, it'll just pop out. The heat will make it pop up. So you always want to take that flap side down in the frying pan to make sure that it stays to where it needs to stay. Again, this is my vegetarian, so you'll see the process again. I'm doing this twice so you guys can really see how it's done. Trust me, every time I do this, I have to remember how do I do it, because it's just one of those things that just, you think, it seems easy and it's a square, and you're always frozen like, okay, how do I do this? But it happens all the time, so even to me, and I've done this a million times. So much so that I wanted to show it to you guys twice, so you could really get it. And again, don't worry about it. Just practice on it. You'll figure it out. The first one never comes out just how you want it. I got lucky this time it did, so it's fine. Again, shallow pan. I'm going straight in, flap down. I'm going into my oil. And then I'm just going to take a slotted spoon and I'm going to gently roll this over until all sides are golden brown. Again, the vegetables and all are already done. I also think it's a great idea to do all your vegetarian ones first. That way you're not cross-contaminating with something else. So do all your vegetarians first. If you don't have a vegetarian in the house, it's no big deal. You can do them all together. But I would say do your vegetarian egg rolls first. Gently roll those. Remember which ones you put in first. Try to put them at the same time, because there's hot and cold spots in any oven. The same thing with the pan, because of the way the heat hits it. And then you're just gonna let it get golden. Let it keep going until it's done. Pull it out. You're gonna let it drain on a paper towel for no longer than about 30 seconds. And then you're gonna cut it on a bias and plate it. Again, we were doing lettuce wrap, so I used some of the butter lettuce to make presentation. But what would be totally appropriate is if you took those pieces of garnish. It's always good when you can use garnish to eat, right? What would be totally appropriate is if you took those pieces of garnish, that lettuce, and just wrapped it around the egg roll with a little bit of your toppings in it as well. That gives you a little extra source of food, but also a different taste. So you eat one without it, one with it. See which one you like better. if you're doing them both. I also provided some of the chips as well for this presentation, just to show you some of the things you can do just to be creative and just to be different. Again, going in with my next batch, and then you come out and you'll see the final plating shortly. So to finish, now that once they've come out of off of the paper towel to dry, I'm just gonna go down, press just like that, cut them on a bias, and I want to set them in some kind of uniform fashion. Again, like I said, you could leave them whole. They retain heat better that way. They present better this way. If you're serving for a large party, I'd say just serve them whole. If you're doing it for a few people, do it the way I just did it, and you'd be fine. So there you have it. Egg rolls 3 ways: turkey, chicken, and vegetarian. This is Chef Mark saying thank you for joining us today.